So, maybe you could elaborate on this little plan of yours? For taking over the planet, I mean. You venture to say. It's been a long trek in awkward, near total silence, and you're about to either go crazy or just fall asleep in his arms. Loki's face remains stoic, but there's a bit of a bite in his tone when he replies.
I know that you are not being sarcastic with me, are you, girl?
No. Maybe a little. Genuinely curious, and trying to stay awake, like you told me to. Please? It's not like I'm gonna run off to sound the alarm. He laughs, a short, startled bark of a laugh that bounces along the icy cave walls.
No, I suppose you won't. Very well. The realm is currently ruled by a queen regent, until the eldest of her 2 sons comes of age. Actually, Helblindi might have come of age while I was lost in the void.
A frown crosses his features. I don't know what any of this means. You're terrible at explaining things. Maybe he's doing it on purpose. That seems likely. And you're planning to, assassinate them or something?
If they do not recognize my claim to the throne, then yes.
Your claim?
I am the firstborn son of Laufey, king of Jotunheim. Farbodi's children will stand aside, or I will kill them.
That seems kinda harsh.
Do not pretend that the royal houses are any different on Midgard. I have witnessed thousands of years of murder and bloodshed on your world.
It doesn't mean it's okay, you mumble. But really, you aren't about to argue. He's keeping you alive for now, and that's all you can really bring yourself to care about at the moment.
The Jotnar are giants,
he continues, seemingly unbothered by your judgment. Yeah, well, you're really freaking tall yourself.
Not tall.
He almost sounds amused.
Giant. You'd best be prepared.
You want to ask why he isn't a giant then, but you decide you'd rather not know. You prefer him this way, where he's at least slightly human. Human-ish, at least. Although, it might be nice if he wasn't quite so attractive. It's kind of worrying you, actually. The guy is a murderer. On top of the whole not human thing. You wonder if maybe it's kind of like some sort of survival mechanism, like Stockholm Syndrome. Yeah, that's probably it. So, how are these giants going to react seeing an Earthling showing up uninvited?
I suspect that they would play with you, mortal. Until you died, that is.
Loki's tone is serious, but there's a hint of mischief sparkling in his eyes. It isn't very comforting. Play with me?
No need to worry. If I claim you as my pet, I'm sure you'll be fine. The Jotnar may be savage, but they do respect property rights.
Property? Your voice cracks, and so does Loki's composure. He grins down at you, though it isn't particularly friendly.
Of course. My own little mortal pet. Bit of an antiquated notion, to be sure, but it is an intriguing concept.
If he wasn't keeping you from freezing, you might try to wriggle away in the face of such outrageous claims. Much to your chagrin, however, you find that you'd much rather be a pet than a popsicle.
You look displeased, girl.
Frowning, you avert your eyes, turning to watch the ever-approaching darkness of the tunnel ahead. I'm a person, not property.
Oh? I think your tune will change rather quickly if I decide to leave you to the elements.
His grip begins to loosen, and you scramble to clutch at his tattered tunic, crying out in alarm. Loki snickers and pulls you back against his chest.
That's what I thought.
Ugh, he's so damn smug. This weirdly upbeat mood he's suddenly in is almost worse than the temper he had been in when he first found you. At least then, you kind of knew what to expect. At the same time, you're feeling weirdly upbeat too. Maybe it's because, while you still aren't feeling particularly great, you definitely no longer feel on the verge of freezing to death. Maybe there was something in that potion thing he gave you to make you calm down. You glare at him, suspicious. What's that even mean? You mumble.
What does what mean?
being your pet? You want to say, but you think better of it. Nothing. I'm really hungry. And you are. Now that the novelty of simply being alive is beginning to wear off, your empty stomach is making itself known.
I have already told you, it will have to wait. I have nothing with me.
This is the worst political coup I've ever been a part of. You grumble, and Loki gives you a strange look.
I do believe that the Asgardian need in that potion might have been a bit strong for you, mortal. You've become worryingly bold.
The frown on your face turns to a scowl. Stupid spoiled brat sorcerer prince. But his mention of the potion does remind you of his pockets, and you brighten almost immediately. Hey, that pocket with the potion, got any more of those? With food, maybe?
Those pockets are essentially interdimensional portals, and the amount of power required to open them is difficult to mask.
But you already did it once.
Yes, and now you will not stop talking. Perhaps I should consider muzzling you.
He actually looks like he's considering it, and you fall silent. You aren't about to let yourself get muzzled by some power-tripping weirdo in a cave on an alien planet. A sexy power-tripping weirdo, though. Ugh, stupid, sexy blue man. Loki releases a startled huff. Oops, you might have said that part out loud. Crap! What was in that? You squeak, cheeks heating. Actually, now that you think about it, everything is starting to feel warm.
Nothing harmful,
He replies, and you can practically see the wheels in his head begin to spin.
Nothing that would cause any significant side effects. To an immortal, at least.
What?
It is hardly my fault that you are mortal.
Loki snaps. Your mouth gapes. As if this is my fault?
Hush.
And so you hush. But then, you notice it feels like you're floating through water, and your brain decides that it's imperative that Loki knows this. Hey, you blurt out. I feel like I'm underwater, but also flying. It's kind of weird.
Does hush have a different meaning on Midgard?
Sorry.
I much preferred you half dead. At least then you were quiet.
Rude. You may be a grown woman, but you aren't above pouting. As much as you've been through the last day or so, you figured you've earned it. When you turn your face into his shoulder, you notice that for the first time that underneath the sickly metallic smell of his blood-stained clothes, Loki's scent is actually kind of nice. Minty. Almost crisp. Do you smell nice? Suddenly you're self-conscious. He apparently has a wickedly strong sense of smell. And even if he is a terrifying former supervillain, you kind of hope he doesn't think you smell like garbage. That would be really embarrassing. Though you keep your eyes open due to Loki's earlier warnings that you'll be in serious trouble if you fall asleep, you allow yourself to drift off into daydreams. Most of them are food-related. When you're back on Earth, you decide, you're going to eat a metric ton of fried chicken and mashed potatoes. Or maybe just a cheeseburger. Or 3. Ooh, or a hot cinnamon roll. This really isn't helping with the hunger pains. You want to ask if you'll even be able to eat anything at this palace Loki's apparently planning to take over, considering his medicine has you intoxicated and sweating like a sinner in church. Wait, you're sweating? That doesn't seem right. I'm sweating, you announce.
So I've noticed.
The disdainful curl in his lips makes you cringe, suddenly even more self-conscious than before.
I believe that you are metabolizing the ingredients of the potions differently than intended. It seems you are experiencing something akin to arousal.
You're pretty sure your face turns beet red at that.
Sympathetic nervous system arousal.
He continues, giving you another one of those strange, half-amused looks.
You are having something like what you would call an adrenaline rush. I'm certain that it must feel quite unpleasant, combined with the sedative effects of the potion itself.
Yeah, very unpleasant.
It will pass soon enough. At least, I believe that it will. Consider yourself a test subject.
Oh, great. A lab rat for a mad sorcerer. That's just how you wanted to spend your vacation?
We are stopping here.
You kind of expect him to just drop you onto the cold rock floor again, but instead, Loki gracefully folds himself to the ground, with you still clasped securely in his arms. Impressive. For how long?
Until I feel ready to continue.
Okay, that's fair, you think. He's the only thing keeping you alive, so you prefer for him to stay in good shape. Especially if his next move is going to be taking over a planet. Take your time.
It should be safe enough for you to go to sleep now. In fact, please go to sleep now. I beg of you.
Fine. You suppose that in the grand scheme of things, Loki telling you to shut up isn't that big of a priority at the moment, but it still grates on your nerves. Squeezing your eyes closed, you snuggle closer, thinking about what a weird story this was going to make for the therapist you're undoubtedly going to need once this is all over. You flinch slightly when Loki rests his head against yours, and you hear him inhale deeply through his nose. He's smelling you again. Well, at least that kind of answers the question of whether or not you smell like garbage. Creep? You think. But you're also just the tiniest bit happy. That's weird. You shouldn't be happy that this dangerous, otherworldly nutcase is sniffing your hair in the middle of a dark cave. That's what your brain says, at least. Your body seems to be of the opinion that it's kind of hot. Or maybe that's just the potion. Either way, you're feeling warm and tingly, and some part of you is thrilled at the fact that he's cradling you so carefully in his lap. Ugh, this is pretty messed up. Stockholm Syndrome, or maybe traumatic bonding? It's definitely one of those. You chastise yourself. But that doesn't keep you from releasing a sigh of content when his hand creeps up to pet your hair, and you're sliding into sleep before you have a chance to second-guess why that might be.